From time to time, in an effort to reach across the aisle and shake the hands or throats of our friends on the left, we here at the Andrew Klavan Show like to take some time to try to clear up areas of misunderstanding between those of us who see things from a conservative point of view and the bad guys. In order to do this, we like to explain to conservatives the meanings of some of the terms the left uses to distract us from the fact that they have no idea what they're talking about. And also that everything they do fails. And that their women are sort of shrill and unattractive. So, in order to build bridges of friendship between us and these nefarious clowns, let's attempt to explain what the left means when they say some of the ridiculous things they say. Today we'll define the term cultural appropriation. Cultural appropriation means borrowing practices or beliefs or foods from other cultures. Cultural appropriation is great. In fact, it's one of the very best things about living in America. In America, we ask only that you obey the Constitution and live as you please while not impeding the liberty of others. And as long as you do those things, you can wear your absurd little hat and eat whatever crap you're used to. And if we like it, we'll wear it and eat it too. Thus, through cultural appropriation, you can enjoy tacos without having Mexican drug cartels running your government. You can do yoga without having flexible Indian people starving in your mind-boggling slums. And you can enjoy a nice Wiener Schnitzel without murdering all the Jews, who come in handy when you need a doctor or want to go to the movies or something. The left hates cultural appropriation because they think it's about the strong stealing stuff from the weak. But really, when you think about it, it works both ways. It allows minority people to adopt things invented by white people, like electricity and freedom. And it even allows women to do things normally only done by men, like wear pants and use logic. And the truth is, though leftists condemn cultural appropriation, because they don't have jobs and have nothing better to do than go around bothering people, they actually support it at the same time. For instance, let's say you came here from Saudi Arabia or some other godforsaken hellhole, and let's say you're a Muslim or some fool thing like that, and you want to have the full human and religious right to freely practice your religion. That's cultural appropriation. You didn't get the idea of human and religious rights from Saudi Arabia or Islam. They don't have human and religious rights in Saudi Arabia or Islam. You culturally appropriated those ideas from the West and Judeo-Christianity. So, a leftist who supports your rights is actually in favor of your cultural appropriation and can now move on to picketing a taco stand run by a white person. Because leftists are gormless knuckleheads. I hope this brings us all closer together. Trigger warning, I'm Andrew Klavan, and this is The Andrew Klavan Show. I feel hunky-dunky, life is tickety-boo. Birds are winging, also singing hunky-dunky-doo. Ship-shaped, ipsy-topsy, the world is zippity-zing. It's a wonderful day, hurrah, hooray! It makes me want to sing. Oh, hurrah, hooray! Oh, hooray, hurrah! Kafivi, it's Mailbag Day. Kafivi, hey, Kafivi. I think Kafivi is, I noticed Shapiro is gone again, right? I think it's the Jewish holiday of Kafivi, right? He's making these up now, I think. It's like the place is run by a lot of evangelical Christians, so Shapiro just comes in and he says things like, yeah, it's the Jewish holiday of Kafivi, it's a day the Bible says we have to take our family to the beach, except it's in Hebrew, we pronounce it bich. But anyway, it is some holiday or other. But anyway, we have a lot to talk about today. But first, I feel really guilty whenever I do this ad for Texture because I know it's going to destroy your life. After you get this app, it is the last thing you will ever do. You'll never stop looking at this app. You won't eat. You won't sleep. If you have plans for the future, forget about them. This thing, Texture, gives you like more than 200 magazines for the price of a single subscription. It's like normally it's $9.99. We'll give you a deal on it, but you get just about everything you want to read. Any magazine you can think of is virtually on this app, and it just consumes your life because nowadays, I don't know about you guys, but I have really had such a hard time getting information and making sure that the information I give you is right, and I'm not just talking about some anonymous source who called in and said he was somebody and read me a document. So you've got to be looking. It's not enough to look online. It's not enough to get your friends' opinions on Facebook. You really have to be going to the sources. So I'm not talking about small stuff. I'm talking about Forbes, Esquire, People Magazine, Sports Illustrated, National Geographic, Reader's Digest, Rolling Stone, Cosmopolitan. No, all the different sides of the story that you want to get, you just will get on this app. And it's searchable, so they not only do they give you like their own recommendations, so they'll point out cool articles that are coming out and articles that you like, which you can always feed it stuff that you want. But you can search it, you can mark it just like reading an ebook. It's so incredibly useful and so addictive. And like I said, normally $9.99 a month, which even that is like that's one magazine. That's basically one magazine. You're getting 200 plus magazines for that. But if you sign up right now at Texture.com/Klavan, you get a 14-day free trial. Right? Yes, that's right. 14-day free. I just want to make sure. Plus, Texture was selected, by the way, as one of Apple's top 2016 iPad apps. I know how hard that is. I had one that was, that was praised by Apple, and it's very tough to get that. So at Texture.com/Klavan, Klavan. Right now, Texture is offering my listeners a 14-day free trial when you go to Texture.com/Klavan, Klavan. 14 days to try Texture for free when you go to Texture.com/Klavan, Texture.com/Klavan. It is the last thing you will ever do, and after that, you'll just read, and they'll find you. Your beard will be long. It's going to be terrible. But it really is. It's a terrific, terrific app. Okay, I'm going to do something that I have never, ever done before, which is give a thought to Kathy Griffin. And and the reason I want to do it, it's not about Kathy Griffin, and this is not going to be an outrage show. I'm so outraged at Kathy Griffin. Kathy Griffin is what she is. She is an unattractive, untalented person who's desperate for attention, and she did this thing where she took a picture of herself holding a mock-up of Donald Trump's severed head as if she were an ISIS killer, murderer, but she had killed and beheaded the president, okay? And this, caused all kinds of fuss yesterday, and obviously on the Twitterverse and online, and everybody was yelling about it. And I have to say that even Keith Olbermann denounced it, and the Satanists. So I think they've kind of covered, and good for Keith Olbermann. I mean, that's like I make a lot of fun of Keith Olbermann because he's a buffoon, but I mean, at least he stood by and he actually, came out and said this is terrible. But the important thing about this has nothing to do with Kathy Griffin. Let's play. She apologized. She saw this. The Secret Service said they were looking into it. The important thing, though, well, let's play her apology. Let's give her the chance to say what she said.
Hey everybody, it's me, Kathy Griffin. I sincerely apologize. I am just now seeing the reaction of these images. I'm a comic. I cross the line. I move the line, then I cross it. I went way too far. The image is too disturbing. I understand how it offends people. It wasn't funny. I get it. I've made a lot of mistakes in my career. I will continue. I asked your forgiveness, taking down the image, going to ask the photographer to take down the image, and I begged for your forgiveness. I went too far. I made a mistake, and I was wrong.
Now, I mean, that's a good apology. It's not like a, sorry you feel this way, or sorry, some kind of mealy-mouth thing. That's a real apology. Fine. So, it really is not about her. What it is about is that she is employed by CNN. She is employed by CNN on their New Year's Eve show, and they have her on as a commentator. She's on the View a lot, and she's gone on The View and cursed at people who were nasty to Obama and all this stuff. But I don't care about Kathy Griffin. Like I said, she's a comedian. She says dumb things. But I want to play for you just a little bit of the way CNN has covered this stuff, because this is what is really important. The first thing I want to play is how they covered a rodeo clown who made fun of Barack Obama. That's the first thing we're going to talk about, all right? So let's play that.
Outrage today over this. A Missouri rodeo clown mocking the president this past weekend. Notice the broom in his backside. And joking that he could be stomped by a bull.
Obama's going to have to just stay there. Obama, watch out for those bulls. President Obama.
Hey, I know I'm a clown. He just run around acting like one, doesn't know he is one.
The Rodeo Association later apologized, and the state's Republican Lieutenant Governor Peter Kinder called the act disrespectful on Twitter, saying, "We are better than this. The state fair has banned the clown." It's just the latest jab at the president. Others have carried clearly racial undertones.
And this went on for a week at least until the clown was fired and had to take sensitivity training, okay? This is a rodeo clown, so he's like pulling down 7 figures, right? This guy is not he's not like some billionaire. This is a rodeo clown. CNN forced him, basically ran a campaign against him, all right? Now, I want to go back, and you remember Gabby Griffin's congresswoman, she was shot, they tried to make it sound like she was being shot, she had been shot by some right-winger because she was a Democrat. She, in fact, had been shot by a psychopath who was actually kind of a left-winger, but mostly what he was a psychopath, okay? Candy Crowley, Creepy Crowley, the woman who, stepped in to protect Barack Obama during a debate with Mitt Romney, right? She has Democratic Senator Dick Durbin on, and the whole thing is how the rhetoric, remember the rhetoric? Do you remember this? It was the rhetoric that caused this shooting. It wasn't the fact that the guy was a psychopath. It was conservative rhetoric, and the one that kept coming up was Sarah Palin had run a campaign where she had targeted different congressional sites, and she had put a rifle target over those congressional sites, and this was what had caused this violence. Listen to Candy Crowley and Dick Durbin.
When you talk about, putting those that you want to defeat in crosshairs sort of graphically, on the internet, you're talking about Sarah Palin here. And I guess that the undertow, and certainly it's not an undertow on the internet, but the undertow with politicians now speaking publicly is, well, the Republicans and the Tea Party and Sarah Palin have gone way too far in their rhetoric. It's been violent rhetoric, and therefore this sort of thing happens. Are you making that direct connection?
I don't think you could ever make that direct connection, but don't we have an obligation, those of us in public life and those who cover us, to say this is beyond the bounds. It may be constitutionally permissible, but it shouldn't be acceptable rhetoric.
Okay, so now we have Kathy Griffin, employee of CNN, who has the president's head, and it was very realistic. It was very ugly. Apparently, the president's son was frightened by it, thought it might actually be real for a minute. Holding the president of the United States' bloody head like she's an ISIS terrorist. Nobody on CNN covers this, first of all, until Jake Tapper, who basically forced it onto the air and said that he thought it was disgusting. And he was talking to Molly Ball of The Atlantic, and I'm not sure who the other panelist was. This is their reaction.
I mean, I have a hard time bringing myself to care about something like this. I think it just speaks to the need to see themselves as a victim that they have, that they're constantly being persecuted. It's constantly...
The Trumps you're talking about.
The Trump people are constantly having to point to the elites who are looking down on them. Of course, comedians and celebrities say dumb stuff and do dumb stuff, and violence is not appropriate. But I just don't think that that's the source of President Trump's problems.
David?
I think we've got much bigger issues to focus on than Kathy Griffin.
Jen, do you want to weigh in at all?
Agreed with David.
No big deal. No big deal. It took them till 9 o'clock Eastern Standard Time to denounce it, which they did in a tweet. They send out a tweet denouncing the thing, and they're still, as of me going on the air, they're still discussing whether she's going to be on their CNN New Year show. And of course, I don't have to say this, but just it needs, I guess it can't go without saying that if this had been a right-wing comedian, if this had been me or Ben holding up Barack Obama, severed head, not only would we be fired, which we should be fired, it's a disgusting thing to do, but there would be no question about the endless coverage of how we cause the violence. And the important thing about this, I want to play just one more. I want to play Morning Joe, too, because Morning Joe, they got married. Joe and Mika got married, and Mika is this big Democrat, and suddenly the show has just become this festival of Trump hate. Now, this Kafivi thing, if anybody wasn't following it, the Kafivi thing is a tweet that the president sent out where he talked about the lousy press Kafivi, obviously meaning coverage, and he just mistyped it, misspelled it. How come he doesn't have his auto spell on? Maybe that was his auto spell. So the Twitter went nuts. What's Kafivi? And even Trump tweeted out. I hope somebody figures out what Kafivi means. So that's the story that they're talking about. So now somebody brings up Kathy Griffin, and listen to their reaction.
I missed the Kathy Griffin news last night.
Okay, I'm not talking about it. You missed nothing up.
Okay. Michael, you can't eat, though, to be clear.
It's just not worth doing.
Yeah, you probably should eat.
All right, coming up, Michael, eat some lunch. Thanks for being on the show.
Thank you, Michael.
This was,
I thought, Michael, this was a stellar performance.
Yeah, you were
This was one of your
great.
better days.
I'm just happy I got that.
Yeah, you did very well.
Sort of. All right, we'll ask award-winning linguist Nicholas Confessori to help us break down the word confefe.
So they can't cover a comedian with a severed head of the president on Twitter, but they're going to have a whole segment with an expert on Kafivi. And what this means, I'll tell you what Kafivi means. Kafivi means we're pulling out of the Paris Accords. That's what it means. Apparently, now that's not solid yet, but everybody is saying that Trump looks like he's pulling out of the Paris Accords, which would be great, by the way. But I want to stick with this for a minute, and just to say that what this means is CNN and the entire infrastructure that we call the mainstream media is empty. They are empty. They're full of crap. They have no moral sway. They have no moral authority. Nothing they do should resonate at all. Their Russia coverage, everything is called into question by this, that they haven't got the basic common decency to react on the instant to something this far over the top. It's not about Kathy Griffin. Kathy Griffin, she made a mistake. She apologized. She's looking for attention. She got it. Congratulations. It's not about that. It is about the networks. It is about the mainstream media who have been ramming and hammering Trump all this time. Oh, he's grotesque and he says these terrible things and he pushed an ambassador out of his way. They have no moral authority to speak. They are utterly empty. We got to say goodbye to Facebook and YouTube. We're going to be doing the mailbag, which means if your life is as miserable as it must be, you should come over to thedailywire.com where we'll answer all your questions. And if you subscribe, you could ask questions yourself. And if you subscribe for a year for just a lousy $8 a month, you get a free copy of Ben Shapiro's new book, Say It's So, about the 2005 White Sox championship season.